Yes, we are live. Hello, everyone. We are starting our webinar. Thank you all for joining. My name is Olena Gryniuk. I'm the CE Director of the SME Banking Club, and I will be your host today. And today we discuss the topic of alternative strong customer authentication methods. My guest today is Václav Mladěnka, Customer Identity Leader at Monet Plus. And Monet Plus is a company specializing in digital identity and electronic payments. Václav, welcome.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Pleasure to be with you here today, Olena, and with you.
Thank you for joining. Yeah, before we go to the topic, just a very short organizational information from my side. We plan our webinar for 35 minutes. We will start from the presentations, and in the end of the webinar, we will have a Q&A session. But you're welcome to type your questions in the chat during the webinar right after you have it. And we will read all of them and answer all of them in the Q&A part. And we are recording this webinar, so right after we finish, you will receive the link to the video and the materials as well. So let's go to our topic: strong customer authentication methods. We know that banks have shifted very much to the mobile authentication solutions, and now with the growing adoption of the mobile phones, of course, and mobile application, this is very natural. But the debate over the optimal approach, mobile versus hardware authentication, has become increasingly relevant. I would like to share with you several slides based on our online banking and mobile banking studies for the SME customers, which we do at the SME Banking Club every year, and these are the data as end of last year. And also we did a joint survey with Monet Plus during February and March on our websites on the customer authentication methods. And here are the results. Well, first of all, if we talk about business or SME customers, online banking channel is the main bank which banks are developing for business customer segments, and also business customers are using mainly. And if we see what is the method, so the way to log in into the online banking system, so we see that this is login plus password, sometimes with additional factors like OTP or picture, a proof of the picture, and so on. So 29%, and in the most cases, this is one screen when the customer puts login and enter the passwords. After that, we have 27% login with hardware token, 22% both for login and password only, so without a third factor, and also mobile token. So this is about the login page. And if we talk about the payment authorization methods in the online banking systems, so 42% of the banks offer OTP, so SMS, so confirmation by the code from SMS. Then we have 24% mobile token, 18% hardware token, and 16% mobile authorization. So this is about the payment authorization. So we do see that that this is mobile based, and also I can say that banks usually offer a minimum 2 methods for customer choice, so the customer can choose which one to use. So this is very rare now that banks offer only one method of authorization of payments. And if we look at the usage of the governmental ID, so if we talk about the CEE region, this is used, like we can say this, in 25% of the banks. And I think this is connected with the legislation mainly. And and I think at this point, Václav, I'm ready to pass the microphone to you. because also now this discussion of alternatives to the mobile-based authentication methods started also with the requirements of PSD3, right? So it says that the banks should offer the alternatives for all the customers. So yeah, let's please share with us what is the status, what are the alternatives, and what are the use cases.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
Definitely. Thank you very much. I'll try to share some of the slides I do have just to support the discussion. Many thanks for the survey outcomes. I'm actually somehow confirming what I've been expecting. Or what we see on the market. I mean, it's not only about the requirements of the bank, but banks are usually maintaining a certain portfolio of authentication methods just because they realize there are a number of different clients and different needs. So maybe short note about why mobile authentication is definitely, if we believe it's something from our customer perspective, is something very comfortable. Usually it's dependent on the device that we have with us every day, so we are kind of naturally using it. And from the bank's perspective, that definitely is, the devices these days provide reasonable security. They don't come with some additional cost on the hardware distribution or SMS distribution. So this is quite matured in the CE region, and there are a number of solutions and a number of providers that fulfill the requirements. However, relying only on mobile, there are some things that are worth mentioning. It's not absolutely added with some cost, because usually needs to manage a development team or maintain the developing team either internally in the bank or it's outsourced it. Because of the mobile app ecosystem, it's quite changing. I mean, you need to maintain versions of the software due to the UX changes, expectations, and user experience. Maybe some of the technology updates and the security updates, and also considering the mobile ecosystem, the number of additional solutions that needs to be integrated to fulfill the requirements, like transaction monitoring, malware scanning, runtime application. I'm just noticing that some of you may be experiencing some of the sound issues, although some others are confirming the sound is okay. So hopefully you should be able to hear and see. If you're not, just let us know through the chat, and we'll somehow try to maintain it. And maybe from the other side, if we have a mobile application, why not mobile application? Why could be the limits of the mobile application? Sometimes it's on the customer side, because they definitely basically don't trust the mobile application, and is it secure enough? Can I trust the mobile application with the device? Or, for example, I'm using it for the company reasons, and I don't want to use my personal device for the company requirements. And if I'm an owner of a company, I'm experiencing fluctuation of people in the company. I don't really want to allow their personal mobile device that is integrated to the ecosystem and be able to confirm some type of transactions. And maybe I do have some high-value transactions, and I want to make sure that it's happening in certain security levels. And from the bank's perspective, definitely is risk management, because alternative methods are encouraged too, and there are some legislation reasons. And as the final version of the payments service regulation is being ready, these alternatives will be mandatory for all the banks. So I think it's worth exploring it and understand the context. So today I just wanted to share with you some of the alternatives that we usually are discussing with the clients, their pros and cons, and maybe discuss some of the issues that may be when you decide to implement some of those. So what are the alternatives and options if we don't have a looking at the mobile devices, and we'll probably have a look at dedicated hardware devices. So we definitely, through the time, have seen number of OTP tokens and devices that generate OTP codes, which are essentially a fairly good alternative for SMS codes. There is a dedicated device with high level of security. It's very standardized over the time in a number of ecosystems. It works pretty well. However, these devices come with a bit slightly complicated UX because you need to usually type some kind of challenge from the transaction. You need to enter a PIN. You get some response on the device. You need to retype it to the web browser. This may work for certain use cases, but sometimes we believe that retyping these codes there are solutions that provide essentially much better user experience. Also, one relevant alternative that we've seen in some of the banks, it's to use essentially the payment cards and use additional device that is able to use the payment card and to use it as a security device. So that's quite good if you have been thinking about it before you've been releasing these payment cards to the end user. You have your processes of card personalization and security set up, which is unfortunately not the case for most of the banks. So it comes with additional process changes, with some additional technology changes, and at the end of the day, if you are not prepared for this, it will be most likely too expensive to be implemented. So I wouldn't really consider this as a relevant option. Probably quite an interesting option might be a FIDO tokens, FIDO2 tokens, especially. FIDO2 is a global standard that is getting much standardized across platforms and vendors and providers. A number of implementation of FIDO and number of visualization have different form factors. They are also available in multiple options with some PIN that comes with some PIN confirmation on biometrics, or even a touch, number of user interfaces, number of technology interfaces like USB, Bluetooth, or near field. So the technology looks very promising. It does, however, some limitations as well. I will maybe talk about it a bit later, or maybe just dive into the FIDO. I mean, FIDO is a great standard. I mean, it's very well supported these days in web applications. And also with the FIDO, it comes additional standard, which is called Web Authn. The good thing about this that as these standards are supported in the browsers, the implementation is very straightforward and usually very easy. And the good thing is that this is providing also support for two types of authenticators, so-called roaming authenticators, essentially these physical devices that you can bring in and get registered. So any of those devices, or even what's quite important to mention, and I'm thinking it's quite promising technology, also the platform authenticators. Essentially, your mobile phone, your tablet, your PC could be an authentication device, and you could use even the biometric sensors on that device to utilize the authentication capabilities. So that's very promising in this area. The only limitation, or that is very significant in limitation, this technology is very well designed for authentication scenarios. So all that Olena mentioned at the beginning, the login to application, that is something that works pretty well. The problem with FIDO, it doesn't have really transaction authorization or payment authorization capabilities. It doesn't have any dynamic linking capabilities. So from this level of perspective, this has number of limitations for banking. But for the authentication scenarios, we believe this is a very good alternative. And for example, just to log into web portal or web application, not to using SMS codes, it's much better alternative. However, on the market, there are some FIDO2 tokens that could be potentially used in the banking. One of those is examples is there's colleagues from the Voltra company. They developed their own FIDO2 compatible token. They call it Talisman. It's as what we've seen is currently the only FIDO2 compatible token that is providing the transaction authorization capabilities. It does come with the transaction visualization, so it's very suitable and usable for transaction authorization, and therefore suitable for banking use cases. And because it's using the FIDO2 compatible standard, there's probably only little software that you need to change and deploy to make it operate and run. So that's very relevant alternative on the market. And if you are considering updating some of the hardware tokens, I definitely suggest you review this as part of the portfolio. From what we seen also, and we work quite a long time on the market, is so-called public key infrastructure tokens, essentially those that work on certificates, similarly like smart cards, if you are using them for company access or for VPNs. These tokens provide very standardized and mature technology that's based on the certificates. Again, provide high level of protection under the ADAS. They are recognized high and the highest levels. And also, the good thing about those tokens is that these can integrate even the qualified electronic signature capabilities, which again, if we are talking about corporate or SME usage, then these capabilities could be very beneficial for company users and provide very interesting capabilities. Because the technology is on the market, we've been able to fine-tune this quite well. So number of solution that comes with all-in-one solution, like really native application or library that can be simply integrated with your ecosystem, and also distribution services to the end users that work for the customer quite well. So definitely, we believe this is also very relevant choice. We don't believe that public infrastructure tokens are legacy or old school. We see a number of very interesting implementations, and we really suggest them or rate them on the top on the ability of token performance. Maybe because we are helping a number of financial institutions help to integrate hardware tokens, I would just share maybe some lessons that we learn and that issues we are facing, how to maybe approach them. Maybe Olena, from your side, from the survey, I would also mention that notice that there are a number of companies that are probably planning to upgrade or change some of the methods.
Yeah. So 50-50, yeah. Half of the banks are planning to implement new, and half of the banks upgrade the existing methods of authentication. Yeah. So it's good to know how to do it, reasonably for which new methods to change and how often to upgrade, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a good thing. It usually depends on a number of different aspects, but we see that although it's not changing like every year, that there are some life cycle that needs to follow, essentially because simply user expectations are changing, the technology is changing, the cybersecurity threats are changing, also the regulation is time to time changing. So maybe some of the what we see in it's usually tied to processes and user expectations. Maybe in terms, if we are considering hardware devices, then we definitely need to consider the device distribution. And what we see in is definitely follow the same approach as you do with your payment cards. So simply allow the direct distribution to the end user and the customers. Branch definitely could work as a backup option or an alternative, but you shouldn't force the customers to go to the branch to get the token. Essentially, this is service that we need to provide to the customers. The second area I would suggest you focus your attention in terms of user experience and processes. It's the activation, or when the actually user receives the device and activate it to make it able to work. It's a crucial user experience and security step. So we suggest it's worth investing the effort just to align with your processes and make sure it's aligned to what the customer is able to do with only a little effort and provides reasonable level of security. If we if we are able to make it, then we are happy and we are winning the game, because the usage of the tokens is usually very straightforward. These are most of the time USB devices that we use every day, so there's no issue on that, but just think about the activation. And maybe in terms of the usage, we highly recommend you support native user experience. If I'm a Windows user or I'm a Mac OS user, this should be really native to me, and all the things that works on the computer should work pretty straightforward, the same as they do, for example, on the mobile devices. They should be easy, straightforward, and secure enough. Suggestion: we do not suggest you rely on the support in the web browsers, although the Web Autonomous standard is quite good in terms of providing capabilities. We believe that dedicated application will help you manage the user experience, the security requirements, and even help you with some technology obstacles that may be appearing. That's simply it. I'm just thinking whether I should comment some of the comments, or we leave the questions at the end. If you don't mind, I'll leave the questions on the end.
Yeah, let's go with the cases and then start.
Okay. Okay. So just to summarize and maybe to share some of the experience and before I go to the question, and many thanks for them. Essentially, as I mentioned, the number of organizations, each and every bank, each and every financial institution different. You have different portfolio of clients. So we really see that it's worth investing the architecture level and maintain multiple support for multiple methods, because they will change definitely over the time. You have different customers with different expectations. So what we suggest is really you think about your digital identity processes, and you outsource, you leave your channels focusing on delivering the business value, whether these are web, mobile, or APIs channels. Let them provide the business value and the core financial capabilities, and really think about your architecture and dedicate that you may have a dedicated component to digital identity, which will take care about all these relevant processes like onboarding flows, authentication, authorization, managing different methods. This is an approach that is bringing significant benefits, because in that type of scenario, these business application could have different life cycle to the security. ecosystem. And that's very important because you need to, if you are changing a hardware security method, or you are implementing support to European Identity Wallet, you don't want to impact your business channel. This should be happening with the same user experience as your customers are currently happy with. So this is one of the cases that we've been helping some of the clients, for example, in the Czech Republic, Česká spořitelna, that we use, helping them to building a standardized ecosystem for login and authorizations to support multiple methods. And we've been able to support them in handling millions of transactions every day. Another case study could be, for example, ČSOB here in the Czech Republic. Again, the same capability, have a dedicated integration for digital identity and have that business channels maintained separately. Or maybe another use case could be about the PKI tokens and qualified electronic signatures. We help, for example, Komerční banka locally to implement a solution that is on the hardware token or their smart card. They may be able to build their own qualified electronic signature solution and provide it to the end user, and even be able to, through the BankID ecosystem, could be able to provide these certain capabilities. So that's kind of interesting. And again, it works under the around the digital identity. So this could be simply plug and play under the digital identity ecosystem and the digital channels, retail banking, corporate banking. They can just simply utilize what has been integrated under the digital identity ecosystem. So maybe some of this summary. Worth mentioning one thing is about the timeline of the public service regulation and the revised directive on the PSD3. I mean, there is a legislative process in the European Parliament. At this point, we assume and expect that the ratification will happen of the PSR this year at the European Parliament level. PSD3, this will need to be probably ratified on the national levels. But from the like banking perspective, I mean, at least for you to suggest or to have the time today and kind of revive what you have in the portfolio and think about what should be your approach, and if there are some little changes to be made, we suggest that you plan to for these kind of changes. And maybe kind of 3 takeaways, so some recommendations that we suggest is one of those that we've seen is really be prepared for the changes. I mean, it's maybe not easy, but we see that all the technology, all the user experience, the security, it's changing through the time, and be able to change and be prepared to change is significant advantage. We see that building on standards, especially the IT standards, that's kind of significantly pays off. Definitely customer journeys matters. Native user experience, whether I'm desktop user on Windows or Mac, I want to have my native application user experience, and that comes aligned with the processes. So it's not the technology. I mean, usually software vendors, companies can help you with the technology. Usually, most likely, they will be able to help you with the processes as well. Please work with them, because at the end of the day, you have that connection with the customer, and the processes about activation and daily usage needs to be fine-tuned to really make customers happy. And that's at the end of what we want. And if you're considering or will consider hardware token, definitely suggest enable direct distribution to the end users. Let them get the benefits, the one-click order it through the banking application, and have them receive it at home, so they don't need to go and visit the branch just to be able to log into your business application. So that was it from the high level overview. And
yeah, thank you very much, Václav. Great presentation. And yeah, let's get to the questions. We have first the questions from Katerina. I will start probably from the second one about the Vultra's talisman. What is the targeted audience, individuals or corporate entities? I can answer this because I know that this is for all customers, for businesses and for retails. And then the next question is how talisman is dynamically linked to payment transaction. Do you know that?
Well, I don't want probably to go too much to the detail, technical details. I'll leave this for the guys. But essentially, they use a certain level of standardized communication that is available in the standard, and the token itself has some basic transaction. You can see how I actually showed the slide, and essentially, it's provide the it provides the in the device itself. It provides the transaction details. I think I did have basic. Sorry, just click on the wrong button.
Yeah.
Essentially, on the device itself, it has a two-line display that's providing the basic information, like who is the receiver of the payment, what's the value of the transaction, and provides the ability for me to enter the payment. So it doesn't provide all the full level of information that is usually available for, let's say, mobile devices, but the basic information that is required by the legislation, it's available on the device to be shown.
Now I have a fresh question from Katrina. Is authentication code is generated by Vultra Talisman?
No. There is no authorization code. It's essentially all the cryptography is happening at the behind. So, like you don't need to retype any of the codes. It's all on the background. The only one thing you need to type onto the device is your personal identification number, so PIN code that you need to enter.
Okay. Now we have several questions from our team. Thank you very much. And the first one, would you recommend different methods depending on whether this is a consumer, so retail customer, or a business customer? What's your opinion?
Well, definitely I would. I would at least consider that you have, like, for what we see now, most of the retail customers prefer the mobile authentication device, and it doesn't work in 100% use cases. So for these kind of devices, I would consider whether they need additional, like, for example, electronic signature capabilities, and based on that, I would kind of make that decision. Also, just please be aware that most of the devices, the more devices, it's maybe you need to support it in the bank ecosystem. You need to buy those technologies. So each and every like new or additional technology comes with some overhead. So what we suggest is you maintain a reasonable number of alternatives. I would consider like 3 to 5, because the more you maintain, the probably there are some additional costs that are happening. And if you are buying, this is maybe also important to mention that if you are buying these devices, and if you buy a large volume of the devices, you are usually able to get some better pricing. But if you buy more types of the devices, you would probably go for that big quantity or amount of the devices, and your pricing will be slightly higher. So I would definitely consider this, and depending on the total number of users, I would make that decision.
Yes, and the sub-question to that concerning the corporate or business customers, how about accounts which allow authentication by multiple owners or users? Yes, with a business or corporate online banking system. Yeah, I think this is.
Yeah, I think this is
Yeah.
this is something that the banks need to manage, and they usually do. They have processes in terms of managing the customer or the based on the dispo model that they have, or the models that they have.
Okay, so if to summarize the PSD3, you mentioned that this year is good for strategy and planning and budgeting, and the next year for the implementation of the alternative methods, right? So how in general, I would like to ask you how long in general it takes to implement new authentication methods from the ones, for example, from your experience, from the ones you showed?
Well, usually it's I wouldn't it's not usually it's not within weeks. It's usually months because there are a number of things to happen. It's not, as I mentioned, it's not only about the technology. It's also about the processes, and it's about the communication to the clients and to the end users. So we rather suggest that you take some time to think about what are your use cases, what are your customers, what are their needs. Take some time, have a look at the alternatives which are available in the market, review it. There are different pricing with different types of tokens, different capabilities. So we can well help you with that, definitely, while reviewing it. We have some experience in terms of the processes, but at the end of the day, you are maintaining the connection with your end users and with your customers. You're maintaining certain level of processes, so this all needs to be outlined. There are also some commercial aspects, because probably you have a contract with your customers. There is mentioned probably the types of security methods that you are be using it. So also the communication is good, not to underestimate the marketing and the communication and educating the users in this area. It usually, what we see in every change, is bringing significant benefits.
Okay. Maybe to wrap up, last question from my side. Which strong customer authentication method would you recommend, taking into account everything like security, user experience, costs? What would it be?
What would it be? Well, definitely the mobile device is, for me, choice number one. If I would be thinking about alternative,
Yeah.
then I would definitely go for some USB token that is working very well. And because I know I'm sometimes using the qualified electronic signature, I had to use the qualified electronic signature. I would be more than happy to have that combined in one device.
Okay. All right. So we answered all the questions. Thank you very much, Václav, for your contribution. Thank you very much, our attendees, for being with us all the webinar, being very active, asking questions. Thank you very much. So as I mentioned, we will send you the materials within 30 minutes, let's say, from now. And thank you, and see you next time online.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Pleasure
much.
to be with you today. Have a good day.
Goodbye.